We're now in July and it's time for another market update. This video is going to be your July 2022 real estate market update here for the Seattle, Bellevue, and the Puget Sound area. As always, I will keep things at a very high level. I only want to share quickly what I'm seeing day to day in the real estate market. If you want specific stats or numbers specifically about your neighborhood, give me a call and I'm happy to have that discussion. First of all, hope you had a great 4th. We had a wonderful time. We spent a week in Arizona visiting family. Every year we're going out and we call it cousin camp, where we take our kids, and Megan's, both of her sisters live in Arizona. So all the kids get to spend the week together. It was a lot of fun, but it was too hot and a little too long for my liking. Also, the flights were miserable. I don't know if you have kids, but flying with a 2-year-old, I kid you not, it was the longest 2 hours of my life. I guess longest 2 hours 4 times. But we're back to Seattle, back to work, and let's talk real estate. So the market is definitely shifting. If you're paying attention to the headlines, or if you're keeping tabs on Redfin or Zillow or whatever, you're probably seeing a lot more inventory coming on the market. You're probably seeing more and more price reductions because homes were priced too high out of the gate. You're probably seeing a lot of back on market where deals fall through because the buyers backed out for one reason or another, which we haven't seen in a very long time. And we're seeing less pending and less closed sales than we're used to. But we still are in a seller's market. Things are slowly shifting towards a more balanced market, but the sky is not falling. So don't buy into the propaganda. I'm still very bullish on the real estate market here in the Pacific Northwest, and I think things will be just fine. So as we talked in the previous months, one of the biggest contributors to the cooling market are the interest rates. So today, it's July 7th, and a standard 30-year fixed conventional loan is right around 5.675 to 5.875. It's expected to go up yet again, but historically speaking, those are still great rates. I know it's hard to swallow when we're used to sub 3s, but it's still a good time to buy. Another thing regarding interest rate is that those are temporary hikes. So what happens always as we're heading into recession, and actually we are in a recession currently, but it's different than a housing crash, right? The Fed intentionally raises interest rates in order to slow things down. But those are temporary hikes, and I've looked at the stats of the last 5 recessions that we've been in. Interest rates have always ticked up at the beginning, but then the federal government lowers them yet again in order to boost the economy to see our way out of the recession. If you follow any lenders on social media or on YouTube, you've probably heard the expression of marry the house and date the interest rate. And it's tacky and I'm kind of tired of hearing it, but it is true. And what it means simply is if you find the right house that fits your needs, that fits your family needs, if it's in the neighborhood that you want to be in, don't not buy it just because the rate is higher today. Because down the road, you will have an opportunity to refinance and bring that rate and that payment down. Another thing I want to quickly touch on is that I keep hearing over and over by a lot of people that it's looking a lot like it did in 2008. And I do not think that is the case. At least there's no data to support that. I know that things are heated, and as I mentioned at the beginning, but don't buy into the propaganda. If you only read the headlines, you think the sky is falling. But we are far from the housing market situation that we were in 2008. One, the inventory is still incredibly low. It's higher than it was last few months, but compared to 2008, it's incredibly low. Yes, the buyer demand is cooling off slightly, but when the inventory is coming down, when the inventory is low and the buyer demand is a bit lower than it used to be, we're heading more towards a balanced market, which is a good thing in the grand scheme of things. Another major difference is the amount of down payments. We're still seeing very significant down payments. A lot of people are even paying cash for real estate. And also the lending practices are still extremely strict. In order to qualify for a mortgage today, you have to have a stable employment, job history. I even have quite a few clients who are actually wealthy and they run their own businesses, but they're having a hard time. The lenders are putting them through the ringer to get a loan for a home that they could easily afford. And that's also a good thing because when lender practices are strict, that prevents us from what we saw in 2008 when anybody could get a loan or multiple loans and then be extremely over leveraged, and then the whole thing would come tumbling down. So for those reasons and many, many others, we are nowhere near what the situation was in 2008. A lot of homeowners today still have a ton of equity in their homes, and even if the market was to cool drastically, they could still sell and not incur a loss. And that was not the case in 2008. To sum all of this up, especially as we continue to head into this transitioning market, if you're selling, and I feel like I repeat this every month, it's very important that you take the time to make sure your home stands out when you put on the market, because there's more inventory, there's more competition for you as a seller, and as you're competing for that buyer to come buy your house versus a house down the street, your house needs to look presentable and stand out. And what I'm seeing is that the homes that are priced correctly, that show beautifully, still sell very quickly, many times with multiple offers. The homes that do not present well, that the sellers are maybe lazy or to corners or just threw it up, and they also had unrealistic expectations about the price, those tend to sit, they have to lower the price, and ultimately they sell it for less down the road. So don't be that seller. And if you're a buyer, my advice would be is to take a deep breath, don't be emotional, don't be impulsive. We're seeing more and more back on market, because if you just fall in love with the home and you make an emotional decision very quickly and then get buyer's remorse the next day, that could cost you a lot of money. I'm seeing time after time. And as an example, a colleague of mine had a listing in Bellevue and they had it under contract, and the buyer walked away from $200,000 of non-refundable earnest money because they thought they were impulsive, they overpaid, they thought the market's gonna cool and they'll get a better deal. And they were willing to walk away from $200,000, which is crazy. But the point is, don't be impulsive. Be well educated. There's more and more inventory that's coming on. You have an opportunity to really take a look and find the home that meets your needs. But when you do find that house, make sure you're still in a position to move quickly, because as I mentioned, the good ones still sell very, very fast. If you have any questions, if you want any specific data, again, this was very high level because most people I find don't really care about the specific numbers, but I do have them. So if you care, give me a call and I'm happy to have that conversation. And that's it for now. I'll see you next month.